You're watching Breakfast Central on News Central. Nigeria's gubernatorial and state assembly elections was held on the 18th of March for 31 state governors out of 36 states, and of course later on further pruned down. But the Lagos election was the highest profile among the races for powerful governorships in 28 of Nigeria's 36 states, as well as for state assemblies across the country.
Yeah, now we're with the votes tallied in districts representing 95% of voters. Incumbent Babajide Sanwo-Olu of the ruling All Progressive Congress had more than 736,000 votes compared to 292,000 for his closest rival, the Labour Party, which eventually was updated to more than 300,000 votes for the Labour Party's candidate Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour, according to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Following Saturday's election, many have described the conduct of the exercise as one which was characterized by intimidation and violence. We have joining us Gboyega Akosile, who's the Chief Press Secretary to the Lagos State Governor. He joins us to discuss the issues that define this year's elections. Good morning, and thanks for joining us, Mr. Akosile.
Good morning, Hansen, and my colleague. It's good to be part of this program this morning.
Absolutely. Now, let's just focus on, I think, mostly on Lagos. According to Reuters, the turnout was just a small fraction of the 7 million registered voters, pegging it as a low turnout voting across polling units. That there's also been reports of voter suppression, intimidation, at polling units. And let's quickly take a look at some of these clips, and then we'll have you respond to this.
Thank you very much.
But kindly hold on, Mr. Akosile. Kindly hold on. Okay. Go ahead. We're going to play something, but go ahead. Let's have you respond to claims of voter suppression and intimidation that may have also led to less number of people being able to participate in the elections, and eventually seeing how things turned out. Let's go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, like I was about to say, every election cycle comes with its own characteristics. We have a whole lot of narratives being turned out there from both the ruling party and the opposition parties, as it were. You have different narratives. Naturally, the opposition party will always come with sympathy kind of narrative, and they're usually very aggressive about it. And of course, telling people, oh, this election didn't go well. There was a use of the security forces against us. There was this, there was that. It's normal. I mean, I've been a journalist all my life. I've never done any other thing other than journalism. So, and I've covered several elections, in Nigeria, in some African countries, and of course in America too. I covered Barack Obama's presidential election, so I understand a bit of the feeling of the winners and the losers in election. So the dynamics that determine winning or losing in state A are usually different from state B. And see as you go on and on like that. Now let's narrow down to Lagos. What did we have in Lagos? We had a very free, fair, and credible election. I'm beating my chest to say that the election was free, fair, and credible. Now, how do I mean? You had election in 13,760-something polling units across the state. I think 768 polling units across the state. Mark it, please. 13,006 or over 600,000, over 600 units. 13,600 and something units, because I'm not sure of the exact number of 600 plus units. If you add an election in almost 14,000 polling units across the state, and you have skirmishes in about 10 polling units, or 20, let's even be generous, 30 polling units out of almost 14,000. Will that be used? Would that be termed as widespread? I voted. Where I voted, there was no incident at all. And where my mother, an almost 80-year-old woman, voted in suburban area of Mushi, there was no incident, because after the polling exercise, usually I go to my constituency, because that's my primary constituency, before I move to where I currently reside, and I have to vote where I reside. And because I have a permission to move around, I requested for it and I was granted. So I went, I think around 2 p.m. to where my mother, voted, and some of my siblings. There was no incident. And all through my movements down to that place, I didn't experience anything. Just like you and me, I monitored.
Mr. Akosile, I just wanted to ask.
Just like you and me, I monitored on TV. Let me just, end my point. Just like you and me, I monitored, the media, and I saw that there were incidents in Okota. There were incidents around Lekki area, which is usually a hotbed during elections, which it has always been, even before this election cycle. As a reporter, a police officer was shot in Lekki area around 18 years ago when I covered election. So that area has always been a hotbed. It's not now that you have the Sorosoki generations and all their social media followers and all. No. It's just that people don't usually have a sense of history. That area has always been. And, of course, government is doing a lot about it. So we had incidents in that area. And I'm also told that there was an incident in, I think around Abule Ado or thereabouts. So when you have incidents in about 3 local governments and, units, would that be used as widespread? So reduce the media to magnify. What about over 700,000 or almost 800,000 people that voted? Are they not human beings?
Mr. Akosile, what I wanted to ask is, from your analysis, what would you say would be a sizable number of polling units that would have voter suppression, voter intimidation, and of course threats, by party leaders of your party and the likes, before you can then say, okay, this was not free and fair?
All right, so I did not say that. You are the one putting it to me that I'm saying voter suppression. To me, there was no voter suppression.
No, you said skirmishes, and I'm saying that because what you're describing now is that out of over 14,000, about 14,000 polling units.
Okay, so maybe the question, maybe the question is that where you would have skirmishes, not voter suppression. It was not voter suppression.
No,
if there was voter suppression, my polling unit, I'm with you.
Yeah.
There was no voter suppression.
Yes. But what you described as skirmishes, would you say that those skirmishes can be also seen to have suppressed the freedom to vote, the fairness to vote? Because what we're talking about skirmishes now, I don't know if you would agree that these skirmishes include people being told that if they are from a particular ethnic group or a particular tribe in Nigeria, then they should not be welcome. And that includes, if you, of course, I'm sure you know MC Oluomo's statements, which was, of course, it was caught on video. He eventually then spoke about Mama Chikodi or Mama Chukudi. I don't know I can't remember the name. So would you say that these skirmishes that you've described include people being threatened, people being profiled, people being beaten by thugs, armed thugs, and the likes in certain places in Lagos? If those skirmishes, like you've described, happened in just a handful of places, like you've said, what would you describe as an adequate number of places for it to happen before you can then say, oh, this is enough for it to be declared or to be seen as an election that wasn't free and fair? What's a number that we can give?
Okay, thank you. I will say that a skirmish or skirmishes in one place is good enough.
We seem to have connectivity issues there. Mr. Gboyega, are you there? Can you hear us? All right, go on. Go on.
Yes, I'm here.
Please go on.
Now, I won't be here and put a number to a number of places. Oh, that it has to happen in like okay, we have almost 14,000 polling units. That it must happen in 12,000 places before you say no. Because we condemn in strongest term, for electoral skirmishes, electoral violence, electoral intimidation, harassment in any form whatsoever. We don't want it. This is Lagos. This is not how we want to be described. This is not who we are as a people. We do not want ethnic profiling. We do not want people to be
Mr.
afraid
Gboyega,
to exercise their franchise. But for people to say there was widespread intimidation, widespread suppression, or people were not allowed to vote, I think it is uncharitable. I think it is wrong, because a whole lot, almost a million people actually, not almost, 1.2 million people voted. They voted for the parties of their choice. There were some voted for APC that returned Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu with over 736,000 votes. Some voted for Gbadebo, which he got over 300,000 votes, and some voted for Jandor, and he got his own fair share, over 60,000 votes. So, if there was widespread, that's the issue. If there was
Mr. Gboyega, let's come in here.
We don't have that kind of
let's look at it from this fact. You are on the other side now. You're equally a journalist, and you've covered the elections over the years. You also do understand how social media works, the power of social media. If you look at it carefully, going by the statements people have made, if this election is indeed free and fair, how would you rate it? How would you judge it that it was truly free and fair? That's one. Secondly, you did have threats that reigned the air, not just on the digital platform, but outright threats that if you don't belong to this party, or if you are from a particular ethnicity or group, don't come out. In other climes, let's put it clearly, as the one who actually charts the course forward as a governor, one would expect that the governor would have come out immediately after that video dropped and speak quickly to the public, to Lagosians, and tell them, listen, ignore that video. That's not what we stand for. But there seemed to be some form of quiet. And it became clear the next day in the morning when these threats were actually taken physically. And I hope you know as well, as a journalist yourself, that the next day, the threats did continue. So disenfranchisement is one key thing that many have talked about, that they never had the opportunity to vote. However, how would you look at all of this? Would you still put all of this together and say that it was fair, looking at it closely?
All right. Your answering your question is your question is a multiple fold.
I'm just bringing out the points of things that took place, the sequence, so that you can look at it carefully, follow the sequence.
I get you. So I'll tell you this. The governor condemned it because we saw a video where MC Oluoma was alleged to have engaged in some form of ethnic profiling of Mama Chikudi. If you do not want to vote for me, don't come out at all. See, there are so many things that government does in the background that you don't necessarily have to come in the open. The governor investigated. When we saw the video, we took action immediately. We investigated it, and then we summoned. Of course, that caused him to go back to make another video because he explained himself. He said it it was a meeting and that he was joking. And the person he was addressing was right there in the meeting. So you see, our people will prefer to listen to what they want to listen to. And they cherry pick because it is against them. But when it favors them, they look the other way around. Okay? Now,
okay.
When we investigated, we saw that the person was referring to, was there. And then we mandated it that he must come out to clear his name and not stain us, not to put a question mark on our integrity as a government. And that was why you saw when you saw the next video that he had to explain himself. He's an individual. And the police authority, the DSS, they have a responsibility. They should be alive, to their responsibility. Okay? But if anything is going to affect us, either, our image or in terms of governance structure and all of that, we had a responsibility to deal with it. And of course, we dealt with it. That was why we issued a statement that day. Go back. You're a journalist. We had to issue a statement on that day saying that all Lagosians are safe. They must go out tomorrow to cast their ballot for whoever they wished to vote for. And in the morning of the election, because the governor went out to vote very early, in the morning of the election, Mr. Governor reiterated it that people should not be afraid to come out, that they should not be afraid of anything. They are free. There's adequate security. Please come out and
was there adequate security, Mr. Gboyega? Was there really adequate security? Was there? Because people came out with their dogs, and you could see a lot of people even protecting themselves. Was there really adequate security? Let's be honest. Was there really adequate security?
We are being honest here, and that even speaks to it. I don't like to want to go to some areas that some of our supporters were dealt with. They were treated, shabbily, where you have a high number of, the opposition party. The dogs that you saw and the people with machetes and sticks, they were chasing away supposed APC voters. That's suppression. That's intimidation. But we decided, because we are the government, we decided not to talk about it, because we don't want to begin to stir the honestness.
But what we saw, Mr. Gboyega, were not voters. They were actually thugs, not voters. They were thugs.
How do you determine? I'm saying, and that's the question I keep asking people. How do you determine who a thug is?
Because they came with weapons too.
No, they were not. If you look at the videos very well, Hansen, the two sides. So I could describe the people who were carrying weapons and chasing with dogs. We saw the videos and we analyzed the videos. So look at these people like you're showing on your screen. How do you describe these people? Are they not thugs? Are they not displaying acts of thuggery? Okay, even if you want to arrest somebody, couldn't you have handed the person over to the police? You do going about with sticks, iron rods, machetes, dogs, and all that.
Yeah.
We need to be. We need to be.
Yeah. I just want to quickly. Yeah. I also just want to quickly ask this because you speak on behalf of the Lagos State government so it is expected that you will speak in defense of the Lagos State government, and of course put their best foot forward. But I want to ask, because I think this is also going to be a growing concern post-election. The APC in Lagos State has been accused of building and running a campaign that was mostly run on tribalism and slight bigotry on social media. And these are accusations. You can either agree or disagree. It seemed to be an anti-Igbo campaign. The Labour Party candidate was termed Chinedu, or was named Chinedu, in the run of the campaign to try to paint him in a certain way, and run an anti-Igbo campaign seemingly in Lagos State. So I want your response to that post-election, because it seems to have brought up, a seeming divide between the Igbos and, of course, the other residents of Lagos, the Lagosians, the Yorubas in Lagos. Do you think that that is dangerous moving forward? Of course, if we're trying to live in a peaceful Lagos that accommodates everybody. And then also, what is the Lagos State government's approach to, situations like this? And of course, those who say that Lagos State is, either no man's land or every man's land or all of that. What does the Lagos State government think about a statement like that? Including the statements put out by Bayo Ononuga. I'm sure you also saw that.
Okay, seem to have some.
Okay, so let me start with our own campaign. Are you there?
Yes,
am I on? Okay, so let me start with our own campaign. The APC in Lagos never ran a campaign of ethnic divide. Please, I want you to kindly correct that, and please let your viewers know this. We never, I was a major part of the communication team in the campaign of Lagos. Never. Go back in time up until now, never have I written anything, to suggest ethnic divide in Lagos. The governor of Lagos State has a lot of friends, Igbo friends. He's a leader. He will never, ever succumb to ideas of ethnic divide, profiling, or what. No. What you saw, and we have to be honest, and I'm being honest here. What you saw play out on social media was a response by Lagosians, indigenous Lagosians. Not us, not officially from the APC or the governor's team. No. What you saw play out was a response by Lagosians that, look, how can we be saying Lagos, Lagos is no man's land. Lagos is the evil. Have you seen videos, spaces, audio of people threatening that, look, we own Lagos. Now we can show them after Mr. Peter Obi defeated Bola Tinubu in the presidential election. A lot of videos came out, except we want to turn a blind eye to. A lot of videos came out insulting the sensibility of the Yoruba in Lagos. And the people themselves felt, look, we cannot take this. That's what I think happened. And we need to be honest.
Yeah, well, many people may not agree with your analysis of the way that things played out. Unfortunately, listen, Mr. Akosile, with all due respect, I would love to have a longer conversation with you and break these things down bit by bit and expand this conversation. But I think it's also important, because we don't have time, it's important, that of course you go back to the governor and let him understand the importance of reuniting Lagosians, regardless of what tribe that they are from. And maybe also put out a statement declaring where the Lagos State government and the APC stands with regards no man's land or not no man's land, original Lagosians, pure-blooded Lagosians, Yoruba versus Igbo. They need to put out a proper statement. And I think it's your responsibility and the government's responsibility to do that. I would love to speak with you again, and we hope that we can set up another conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us. Time is not our friend, but of course we trust that you would, being a journalist, you definitely use your good pen and your office to address.
I'll send you his speech.
That's fine. Thank you so much for talking to us, Mr. Gboyega. Thank you.